You know, we've talked a whole lot here on the channel about Trump's cabinet and just how unqualified they are. And we've also talked about how he went out of his way to pardon the January 6th insurrectionists and turn them into heroes. Now they'll just let any paid Russian propagandist come to a White House briefing and ask questions. Yeah, Tim Pool was recently at the White House briefing and was gave the microphone because that's the type of voice that MAGA will give the microphone to. I'm going to play you this clip and then we're going to talk more about it. This is one of my least favorite. Again, if we're making the Mount Rushmore of the terrible MAGA, he's definitely somewhere he's in the conversation. He is, and you'll see why in this next clip.
Organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by two different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland Man over and over again. Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you could comment on that unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Sure. Well, we certainly welcome diverse viewpoints in this room, which is one of the...
So the one thing that Tim Pool has gotten good at, and I hate to give him any credit, but the one thing he does well is he talks really fast, he talks over people, and he talks with all the confidence in the world. If you watch his podcast, he will have a guest on, and he will sit and talk over them, scream in their face, and he will pose the question in a way to where they can't answer it. It's like they can't answer it without looking stupid. He knows how to go about it in a manner that leaves the person on the other end of the question going, okay, how can I not answer this? Because what he will do is he will create some scenario or he will bring something up that no one's heard about. And he will say, well, have you heard about this? Have you heard about this case? Tell me right now, have you heard about this case? And like, no, I've not heard about this case. Then you don't know what you're talking about. You're not qualified to talk about anything. You don't know anything. You're ignorant. Why are you talking about this? You're spewing propaganda. You're just parroting the media. That's his style. And when he comes out here calling everything a hoax, that's another one of his styles is that, well, the Very Fine People hoax. No, that wasn't a hoax. He said that. We heard him say that. And I will debunk this one for this idiot till the end of the world. That rally was called Unite the Right. Unite the Right. They were there protesting statues of Confederates coming down, which they say that the Democrats started the KKK. That's true. They say the Democrats was the party of slavery. That's true. So I don't know why they were there wanting Democratic statues to stay up. We do know why. But the rally was called Unite the Right. Some people showed up with their American flags. A whole lot of people showed up with their Confederate flags. And people came waving swastikas in the air. And you all were united. So these people will always get under my skin because of the way they go about it. And one of the worst that I ever seen was when he had Luke Beasley on. And I love Luke. And I admire Luke for going into the lion's den. But he sat there and just screamed in Luke's face to the point that Luke was like, are you serious right now? Is this really happening? Is this how you're going to carry on a conversation? Yes, that's how you carry on a conversation when you've been accused of being, and you've been outed as being, a paid Russian propagandist. Now, he denies that. He says, no, I didn't realize that the money I was getting was coming from Russians. I didn't realize they were paying me to say this. Well, it's still, let me point out that they paid you because you were already saying it. They were willing to put money behind it. If someone comes along and puts money behind what you're doing, maybe you didn't know who they were tied to. Maybe you didn't know what they were all about, but they were still paying you a lot of money to spew their bullshit. So every time that they come out with these, oh, this is a hoax, and oh, I'm the expert on this subject, they're the easiest people I've ever seen to debunk in my life because they're just loud, they're obnoxious, and they're over the top. And now they're sitting at White House briefings because that's the type of people and that's the type of America that Donald Trump wants to create. Do you know why Tim Pool truly was allowed there? Because he is absolutely a loyal soldier and would get on his knees and blow Donald Trump for the world to see if he was called upon to do it. And that's what Donald Trump wants in this world. He wants loyalists. He wants people who will sit there and double down. Look at how Trump digs in his heels. He digs in his heels. He doubles down when he gets cornered. He lashes out when he gets cornered. He wants people around him who will do the same thing. That's why that they have denied the election of 2020 and will do so to the end of the world, because they're going to lose again. And when they do, they'll dig right back into that old bag of tricks. They'll start saying it was rigged and it was a hoax and everything was a hoax against them. Someone like Tim Pool is so over the top arrogant that he could never entertain the idea that someone might disagree with him. He could never entertain the idea that something he was saying was bullshit, and he would never retract and go back and say, hey, I got that one wrong. They don't do that. They never will. And those are the type of people that Caroline Leavitt wants sitting there, who will throw her softballs, and also not just throw her softballs, but throw shade at all the other media in the room to discredit them. He was put there to disrupt. He was allowed there because they knew it would disrupt. And that's the kind of president we have. And when you have dumbass leaders, you're going to have dumbass people around him empowering him. And I paraphrased the George Carlin quote because my mind went blank at the very end. Actually, it's on my guitar case over there if I could see that far. But if you have foolish, selfish leaders, you're going to have foolish, selfish citizens. Somehow it said it, but it's true. That's what you're going to have. Donald Trump wants these people around him because he knows they're loyal. He knows that they will say whatever he wants, and he knows they'll be disruptive. And the more disruptive they are, and the more that they muddy the water, and the more that they create confusion, the stronger Trump gets. That's what he's out for. He's not out to ever bring us together. And that's why I never have no desire to sit down with the likes of Tim Pool, because they're not out to come together with us. They're not out to have a reasonable conversation. They're not out to hear out our side and say, I never thought of it that way. We would do that. We would return the favor if they were reasonable people, but they're not. So I won't be sitting down with him. You're not going to get to see the bandana versus the beanie. Oh, and by the way, I have hair under this. So it's like, it's so disgusting to me that we have seen him appoint this cabinet of unqualified clowns to tear down everything, that we saw him turn over the presidency to his biggest campaign donor to go in there and tear down everyone who was investigating him, to pardon violent criminals and insurrectionists and people that tried to overthrow the government and take away our vote, and then just say, yeah, let this little troll in here who was pushing Russian propaganda so good they decided to throw money at him. Let's let him ask the questions, and let's let him demonize the media. That's where we're at. And they will never fail to disgust me. You know, there's some times where I say to myself, man, you know, imagine if I was one of these like not paid, but imagine if I was one of these like influencers who was like out here, well, yeah, I mean, making a living tasting hot sauce, or making a living sampling a new beer. You guys just send me a beer and a hot sauce and I react to it, you know. Sometimes I almost envy those people, because what we do is pretty heavy and what we do is pretty depressing, and it's really depressing when you have people like that put there to agitate and disrupt and just make a mockery out of the whole thing. But I'll tell you the truth. I say that from time to time, and I feel that from time to time, but no, folks, this is the hill I'm willing to die on. I can drink beer all day. I can drink most people under the table on one of my better days, and I'm not proud of that. But or I guess one of my worst days, depending on how you look at it. But I'm not here to do that. I'm here to talk about the issues at hand. I'm here to call out the hypocrisy. I'm here to debunk the stupid shit they say and stand up against it, and if for nothing else, so that when my grandkids look back, they'll know which side their grandpa was on.